jump into the presentation for today. Now, remember, we've been looking at this topic of a quantum leap, and today I just want to kind of reiterate what Dr. Price Pritchett speaks about in his book, U Squared, in which he says, when it comes to a quantum leap, exponential growth is capable at any level, both corporately or individually. And I always recommend U Squared for that precise reason. He says we don't have to be content with incremental gradual change through the application of hard work. Rather, we are capable of an explosive jump in performance at an accelerated rate, and it requires less effort. How precisely is that possible? Now, last time I spoke about the 3 levels over the 4 phases of what exactly that is. We spoke about the linear effect over 4 phases. We spoke about the multiply effect over 4 phases. And then we spoke about the quantum effect over 4 phases. And anyone of you remembers, in linear, it was 2 plus 2 equals 4 plus 2 equals 6 plus 2 equals 8 plus 2 equals 10. We demonstrated that it's always incremental and it's based on manual physical input. In the multiply effect, we showed the 4 phases by saying 2 times 2 equals 4 times 2 equals 8 times 2 equals 16 times 2 equals 32. We also told you that in those 4 phases, the secret wasn't manual physical hard work, but multiplying oneself, like one does when managing something. Very powerful. We also demonstrated that in the linear effect, you only had 10 units. In the multiply effect, the same period, you had 32 units. So there was the multiply effect. But in the quantum effect, we said it's squaring yourself. So 2 to the power 2, 4 to the power 4 squared, 16 squared, 256 squared, 65,536. We even demonstrated that with a quantum leap, you can't even begin to explain the numbers because this thing just takes off in directions that cannot be understood. We also demonstrated something profound called critical mass, that it is critical mass that's the secret ingredient that causes this explosive jump in performance. And so these things are not just theories. We have examples in real life of companies and individuals that are achieving this phenomenal massive growth, which is very, very difficult to exemplify until you understand the concept of the quantum leap. Professor Mubaiwa, wonderful man, came through and spoke about something called psychodynamics. He also spoke about mental mechanics for taking a quantum leap. If you missed those, you need to go on my YouTube channel. You will find them because they're actually outlined. Just search for Walter Mwambazi and you will see my channel and you will see those presentations. They are right there so that you can find them. It's a bit difficult to find presentations on Facebook, so go on YouTube. But Professor Mubaiwa gave the structure of a vision, what it takes. It was an amazing presentation. Now, today I want to jump into the Bible and demonstrate Jesus speaking about a quantum leap. This one, a lot of people never realize. It's so powerful, and I think it will really hit home. And a lot of people don't realize that the parable of the talents is about a quantum leap. Now, listen to this. There are a number of truths. Now, for those of you who crowed from under a rock and never heard about the parable of the talents, I will recount it to you. The Bible teaches that Jesus gave an example about the parable of the talents. So a master who was going away for a long time on a long business journey called 3 of his servants, and to each servant he gave according to their ability. So to the first he gave 5 talents, and then to the second he gave 2 talents, and to the third he gave 1 talent. And then he told them something very interesting. He said, do business until I return. All right. Now that's so interesting. So do business until I return. So everyone was asked to go put each one of these talents to work. The Bible teaches us that the first guy went to work and then he multiplied. He doubled it. He had 10 talents. Second guy did the same. Third guy went and buried it. So after many days, the master comes back and he calls each one to do the book of accounts, to do an account for whatever they did with their property. The first guy says, Lord, you gave me 5, now here are 10. So the master said, well done, good and faithful servant, enter into the joy of your Lord. And he was blessed. The second guy comes and says, Lord, you gave me 2. Behold, I brought back 4. He too was told, enter into the joy of the Lord. Well done, good and faithful servant. Then the third guy was asked, what about you? Third guy says, Lord, now listen to his words. He said, I knew you to be a hard man, reaping where you have not sown. And so I took your talent and buried it in the ground. And so since you're back, here is what belongs to you. He gave him back the 1 talent. Then the master said, you wicked and lazy servant. You say you knew that I reap where I don't sow? Why then didn't you take my money and deposit it with the banker so that it would have earned interest? Then he now cast this guy out into the outer darkness. And then not only that, he called him a wicked and unprofitable servant. Now that's very interesting, because when that happened, a lot of people don't realize there's another version which is even more graphic. The Bible teaches in the other version that this guy was chopped up to pieces. But you know, I'm not going to go into that. Let's stick with the PG-13 version, which is where he was cast into the outer darkness. Now, in that is a very interesting series of lessons which we're going to draw on the quantum leap. The first lesson, which for me is a killer, is that the 1 talent guy lost his talent and ended up discarded into outer darkness. You know, it sounds unfair until you realize that every person put on this earth has a mandate. There is a purpose for which you were put on earth, and that purpose is to occupy until he comes. Remember, every talent, every gift, every ability, every location, you don't choose these things. Let me tell you, you don't choose the talents you're born with. You don't choose the race you have. You don't choose your name, though you can get to change it later. You don't choose your family. You don't choose your country and nationality. You don't choose your tribe. You just find yourself there. And what I find amazing about that truth is that you also don't choose your abilities. They just happen to be with you. Now, I've got some news for you. Those talents and abilities are there to solve major problems in the world. Dr. Nelly and a number of people have been teaching the concept of the 5-fold mandate. This is an old teaching from many years back, and I teach it too. And that 5-fold mandate is given in Genesis 1:28, and God basically gives 5 mandates. Fruitfulness, multiplication, management, which is replenishment, subjugation, and dominion. And these 5 are associated to you. And the gifts and talents you receive manifest these things. So you're not an accident. Everything you have around you is a resource that you must put to work. And if you do not put those resources to work, the Bible is very clear, Jesus is clear, that you will be made accountable for not putting them to work. You will be made to account. So this thing which is so interesting is that because of the lack of utilization of the talent, this man was cast into outer darkness. So there is an account for what you have. There's an interesting saying which comes from the Marvel comics, but it's actually spoken by Superman. Superman's grandmother. Superman's grandmother says to him, Peter Parker, he says to him, with great power comes great responsibility. You know, you could twist out and look at it the other way. With whatever you get as a gift, there is a responsibility for it. Spider-Man, thanks, Coach David. So Spider-Man is told, you have this great power. It means you have a responsibility. This power is not just given to you so that you can chill with it. These gifts every one of us carries in this place is not for us. It's for those around us. Every talent, listen, a tree does not eat its own fruit. A river does not drink its own water. Everything within nature is for service. And that's why the master was so mad with this 1 talent guy, because he chose not to put the talent to work. So he was in trouble. So we need to understand that we must take the talent, the gift, the ability, and put it to work, or else we risk losing it. In fact, this is a very, very powerful truth. Then number 2, I think this one has been more profound. It says, whilst both the 2 and 5 talent guys doubled their talent, it's only the 5 talent guy that gets awarded with another talent, showing clearly that incremental abilities translate to exponential results. One thing that's profound is that when you are ahead, let me tell you something about coming second, because people don't really get this. Think about any competition. Think about a race at the Olympics, think about footballers, think about car racers, whoever races, do you notice that many of these, especially in the Olympics, differ by inches? In fact, you know, a lot of times in the Olympics, the difference is what they call a snapshot. So it's literally a nose or half of the face. That's how you see that this one actually ran faster than the other guy. So number 1 and number 2 are literally at the same speed. Literally, like once I see Zapamosi, wow! But then they do a photo and they see this guy is ahead by an inch. Now listen to this. He may be ahead by an inch, but let me show you the implication of being ahead by an inch. When it comes to endorsement, who do you think they pay? Do they pay the number 2 guy? Nope. Most times it's the number 1 guy. So you find that all those sports endorsements, all those monies, all the accolades, all the fame, going around the world, doing whatever they do, all that goes to the number 1 guy. But yet the difference is, that's it, the razor's edge principle. It's just that difference, that little tiny difference. It's so different. It's literally just a finger between the first guy and the second guy. But yet the first guy gets far more recognition, far more honor, far more medals, far more. He's even inducted into the Hall of Fame, for crying out loud. Nobody remembers the second guy. Usain Bolt ran with so many powerful athletes. Let me ask you today, do you remember those athletes? Do you remember who came out number 2, who got the silver medal when Usain Bolt got his first medal? 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th medal. Do you remember the guy who came number 2? No, you don't. You remember Bolt, right? Do you remember Michael Phelps's competitor, the number 2 guy? No, you don't. Do you remember? Who do you remember when it comes to football? In Maradona's days, who was the number 2 most powerful player at the time? Unless you're a footballer, you don't remember. Who made more money? Let's go to basketball. Who makes the most money when it comes to the NFL league, as they call it, National Football League? Who makes more money in that? Or NBA? Who makes more money? NBA is the basketball. The other one is football. Who makes more money? It's the guys that consistently come on top. And that's why I am telling every one of you that's watching this, that it is LeBron James. Thank you. So you have to remember that it's so important to realize that when it comes to the race of life and getting ahead, you must push yourself beyond ordinary. And that's why the 5-talent guy gets the extra. You know, I just find that amazing. Think about it. In terms of the 2-talent guy and the 5-talent guy, both doubled, right? Yes. But the 5-talent guy got an extra talent, whereas the 2-talent guy didn't. So the 5-talent ends up with 11, the 2-talent guy ends up with 4. Do you see where I'm going? That's my point. So it's a very profound teaching. When I learned it, it was hard, but I had to accept it. Now, the third one is really, really painful. Listen to this. The 5-talent guy doubled his talents through his own effort, but the 11th talent just showed up. Sure, it just showed up with nothing to do with him. It had nothing to do with him. Listen, the 5 talents he worked on directly, that we can testify. But the 11th talent just showed up. I call it the 11th talent effect. You know, the 11th talent effect, ladies and gentlemen, is mind-numbing. I'm even getting goosebumps just thinking about the 11th talent effect. You know, the 11th talent effect, to every one of you in here, is that coincidental effect where things just fall in place beyond your power. Professor Mubaiwa, Huntington Mubaiwa, calls it divine serendipity. For me, divine serendipity is the 11th talent principle. I'll say that again. Divine serendipity is the 11th talent principle. When you are gifted, when you are good at what you do, things just happen. Look at the recent event that has, pleased so many Zambians, and that is the event where Esther Chungu Nyatando found herself on a world stage playing with Coldplay, one of the most popular groups out there, and she was able to sing and bring so much glory to Zambia. Now, aren't there many other talented Zambian gospel musicians? There are plenty of them. But you need to begin to understand this concept of the 11th talent, okay? The 11th talent comes because you are actively running. That's it. And it even manifests more powerfully if you add to that the fact that you are ahead of everybody else. That's why we are big on excellence. That's why we're big on extra to create extraordinary. You do not operate on normal, just as long as I can get to the end of the day. Chikulukwacha kind of mentality. That chikulukwacha is for mediocre average people. And let me tell you something, even if you may not see your 11th talent principle or the what we call divine serendipity manifest today, if you stay consistent, my brother, my sister, I guarantee you one day, you will just be shocked with what's going to drop on you, and it'll be so profound, everybody will be left stunned because they will not even figure out what has happened. You know, when you think of people like, I'm going to use him as an example for the purposes of an illustration. I know I don't necessarily follow him, but I think the illustration is brilliant. If you think of a guy like, for example, Bishop T.D. Jakes. Bishop T.D. Jakes, for 20 years, many don't know this, for 20 years, he preached out of the storefront church in Houston, Texas. No one knew about Bishop T.D. Jakes. He had, I think, 5, 6 families. It was just absolutely just him and his family being faithful to his message. When he began Woman Thou Art Loosed, it was a small little Bible class in this storefront church. If you want to understand the storefront church, think of the high street and then think one of those windows being a church. That's the kind of size that he started with. No one heard of Bishop T.D. Jakes. And when he ran those programs for 20 years, I remember reading in his book, they were so poor that, you know, in the US and in Europe, they have a perennial problem with ice on roads. So many times, to make sure the roads are not slippery full of ice, they have to pour salt on the roads to make sure that stays away. But the problem with salt, it eats the metal of cars. So Bishop Jakes and his children and wife used to drive in a car where they had to lift their legs above so that they don't, you know, they don't step on the bottom there and their feet go on the ground like the Flintstones. So they used to see the tar as they drive. That's the kind of car that he used to drive. They were so challenged financially. But look at Bishop Jakes today. What was the divine serendipity that happened? What is it that took place? What was this 11th talent? What occurred? Well, the simple answer is Bishop Jakes had a small little local TV station that came to film his Woman Thou Art Loosed conference, and there was a specific preaching he was doing there, and they captured that. It was just simple, nothing fancy, just typical, like what everybody else does on TV. And they took that and they took it to the TV station. Now that day, it so happened Paul Crouch, the founder of TBN, happened to be in Dallas that time, and he was at home, at the hotel, flicking through channels, trying to figure out what to watch. He was looking for some Christian content. It's so interesting because those days he still was now working on TBN, but that particular day they didn't have TBN in Texas, so he was just flicking through the channels trying to see if there's anything that's Christian, and he comes across, now just imagine that. Now that for me is divine serendipity. He comes across Bishop Jakes and he's like, okay. And he starts to listen and he's blown away. He's like, oh my God, who is this man? And that's how he calls the TV station and says, I want this man, can I have his details? And the rest is history, because when Bishop Jakes went on TBN, done. Now, do you see what I'm saying about divine serendipity? For 20 years, Bishop Jakes and the family could hardly manage to make ends meet. Things were so rough, but the man had the gift in him. The man had this talent. The man had this ability that was God-given, that was so impactful, just that the audience wasn't ready. But the beauty is he was occupying. Do you see what I'm saying now? When Jesus told the 3 servants, he said, occupy until I come. You see, none of you knows when your serendipitous divinity will show up. None of you knows where that 11th talent is coming from. But if you occupy your preoccupation, stay faithful, stay true, stay consistent, stay showing up and doing everything you can to the best of your ability, I guarantee you, whenever you see an opportunity, run after it. I call it the chariot effect. When you see the eunuch in the chariot, run after that. When you see the door, open it, knock on it, seek, do what it takes, be ready, occupy. Do you know an occupying army is always ready for a war? There may not be a war, but they're always ready for one. That's what it means. Be ready in and out of season. Study to show yourself approved, rightly dividing the word of truth. That now has to do with people who are believers in the gospel. But you see, you can apply that to anything in your life. Always be learning, always be improving, always be doing something to enhance your skills and ability. Be on the go. And guess what? There will be a poor crowd somewhere flicking channels, and boom, there you are. I just find that profoundly amazing. And if we can learn to do this, we will always be able to harness those opportunities. So that, my friend, is what I call the 11th talent principle. It's such an amazing thing. Remember, the talent was taken. And now this is the part that's even scarier. You remember the 1 talent guy? The one that he had was taken from him. And then it was given to the 11th talent guy. So the 1 talent was taken from him and given to the 11th talent. One good teacher reminded me of the phrase, what you do not use, you lose. So he lost that. But what's even worse, he gets thrown into outer darkness. So on top of things being bad, he's even thrown into the outer darkness. And then this 10 talent guy even gets the 11th added through no effort of his own. That, my friend, is the 11th talent principle. Occupy until I come, because Jesus will come at an hour we do not expect. Now, this can apply to the scriptures of Jesus coming back for the rapture, but it can also apply to your breakthrough in life. When God shows up on the crossroads, where are you? You're nowhere to be seen. You miss your blessing. And this is the concept of the missed blessings. It's not necessarily that you're under a curse. You just miss the blessing. You just miss the opportunity when it shows up because you are not occupying your spot. You went to sleep. The Bible goes on to say, watch and pray so that you may be counted worthy. The idea again there is being alert, occupying, busy, doing something. When Jesus went to collect his 12 disciples, do you know every one of them was occupying their profession? Jesus didn't find people standing on the street doing nothing and say, hey, do you want to be a disciple, my disciple? Follow me. No, every one of them was working. Every one of them was busy occupying their profession. I just love that. When the call came, everyone was working. Jesus does not use people who don't occupy or work. Jesus comes for people that are actually at work. That, my friends, is the quantum leap. When we come next time, we're going into something even more exciting. I'm now going to talk about the actual 14 factors of a quantum leap. So at this point, one of our coaches is deep into this stuff, and she'll come and wrap us up for today. And that's Dr. Nelly, our national leader. Dr. Nelly, over to you for the wrap up. Okay, I think Doc is not on the call, or her microphone is lost. Whatever the case, all right, so let me do the wrap up and conclude. So there you have it. So like I was saying, she can't talk. Okay, understood. All right, so let me ask then Aunt Sylvia to come and do the wrap up, and then we call it a morning. Aunt Sylvia, over to you.
I just love the talent thing, Ray, because the one who multiplied the talent is the one that really makes the difference. And this is what we're talking about. He took action. He took action, and more was given unto him. It's the same thing that they say, give work to the people that are busy, it will be done. Give people with a lot of time, they will be barring everything, under there, because, and then they're so scared to actually actualize anything, but they don't want to lose the relationship. So they think by hiding something or by just saying noted and not do anything about it, they think that they've done you a favor. And this is what happens on a daily basis. People don't give feedback, and they just want to come and give you feedback that they noticed what you were saying and they wish they had, they had come on. But this is what is disturbing our development. Don't just wish, take action. And the steps that Rev has, shared today is what we need to be doing. Period, full stop. And once we do that, everything that we do, we're going to be ticking one by one. We're going to be ticking one by one. And this has enabled us to achieve, like for me, this COVID, if it wasn't using the quantum leap on our network, I was going to be probably depressed and sleeping in my bed. But I've really, really enjoyed what we do. I show up every day. I am ready every day at 7. I'm ready for 7:30. And I keep on encouraging other people. Some people, they even, when you encourage them, they exit the group. And I say, why? Why do you want to exit? And these are the issues that we keep on talking about. Even in our mindset change program, we talk about how to exit a group. As simple as that, how to exit a group, so that when an opportunity comes, someone in the group will call you because of the way you left the group. But if you just exit this group, exit, even when there's an opportunity for you and people know that you can do it, they say, no, but she doesn't care about us. Why should we involve them? So when you want to exit a group, say something about why you are exiting, and probably promise that when things get better, you will come back. You will be left with a noise in the head when an opportunity comes. Someone in the group will call you. So get engaged. Utilize your network successfully. Tomorrow's launch of the educational initiatives started in 2018. We signed a contract in 2018, but things just have not worked. But here is an opportunity for tomorrow, for teachers, for policy makers, for to use one thing that is working around the world, to join, for students to learn, not to learn for exams, students learning to know, so that they can utilize. They don't bury the talent, they go and multiply the talent because they know how to do it. So stay tuned for tomorrow, and we're going just to do something that has not been done here before. Thank you, everyone, and have a good day. Yeah, mute, Rev.
Okay, I was just answering somebody's point there that said, is there a book out there, Derek? I said, yes, Dr. Price Pritchard, U Squared. He talks about the quantum leap. It's a very thin book, lots of blank spaces, but very profound. And now it's a subject that you have to go very deep into. And I've done a lot of research on this. So you read, but you won't get everything. So that's why we also present here. And then as you stick around with us, you will learn a lot more, because there's a lot more information that we are also sharing. Very soon after my first book is out, the second book is going to be called The 7 Key Factors to Transforming Africa. And in that book, I go deeply into the subject of a quantum leap for Africa. But I am also going to learn, and I'm going to borrow heavily from Professor Mubaiwa's book, The Riot Act. It's a 650-page manual on the transformation of Africa. It's an amazing book. So there is the data out there, Mwalwa. The only issue is that most